Welcome to the Mukilteo Football Show. My name is Miles. The Kansas City Chiefs defeat the Los Angeles Chargers in Arrowhead Stadium to go 2-0 and take the lead of that hyped, vaunted, stacked AFC West. Mahomes versus Herbert. A lot of great throws on television today. A lot of great throws streaming on the internet today from Pat Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Mahomes goes to 3-1 over Herbert. And I'm hoping for this to become like a, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady sort of thing over the next decade. Peyton and Brady, of course, played 17 games against each other. 5 of them in the playoffs. Maybe we'll get a couple of those. It was a good game, and it wasn't just a shootout. There was a lot of good defensive plays in this game. 2 good teams. I think injuries sort of caught up with the Chargers here. What else is new? It's week 2. But in the first half, Kansas City came down to earth a little bit from week 1 after they had 33 first downs in 66 plays versus the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday. This time they're punting. They had no points in the first quarter. I mean, a lot of that was Mahomes, but it's been pretty well documented over the days that a lot of that Mahomes 5 touchdown, just demolition of the Cardinals, was also Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, who just inexplicably heavily blitzed Mahomes for some reason. Like just the thing you don't do. It's like the 19th century, bloodletting to treat an infection. Like Dr. Vance Joseph is prescribing capsules of mercury for your upset stomach and advising you to heavily blitz Pat Mahomes. The Chargers, meanwhile, didn't do that. They played off. A lot of stars on that defense. Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, J.C. Jackson, Derwin James, all over the place today. It was the Chargers in control. They went up 10-0, I think at the half of 10-7, and they actually started the second half like methodically driving down the field. That 11-play drive. I really thought, man, this is going the Chargers' way here. That drive to start the second half to go up 17-7. It included just a clutch 4th and 1 from the 18-yard line. They didn't take the field goal. Then the next play, Herbert hits Mike Williams for a touchdown. And the thing that these old Boomer Esiason, Phil Simms, Rex Ryans will never get, they will never remember that 4th and 1. They'll just remember it as a drive that ended in a touchdown. Even though they would have taken the field goal, they don't make that connection. It just frustrates me so much. If he misses it, it's the biggest talking point ever. But now it's just a drive that ended in a Mike Williams touchdown. What are you talking about? And then right after that, Mahomes appears frazzled. He's forcing the ball. He looks like second half AFC title game versus Cincinnati. Throws it twice. His first 2 throws both appear to be intercepted. One negated by a penalty. The other one for Asante Samuel Jr. was reviewed and overturned. If one of those is actually intercepted, it seemed like the Chargers was destined to win at that point, mid-third quarter. But alas, Mahomes got a third chance, drives the field. A backup tight end burns a high-priced free agent, J.C. Jackson, for a deep touchdown. Mahomes' 158th touchdown in 65 games. The announcers, Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit, just arm angles. Man, just Mahomes is amazing. And then injuries caught up with the Chargers. I mean, just missing Keenan Allen today. Then the center goes down, Corey Linsley. Then then the pick 6. I can't believe I didn't lead with this. That 99-yard pick 6 after Herbert drove them with all those injuries, by the way. Jalen Watson steps in front of Gerald Everett, returns at 99 yards. And that was absolutely on Gerald Everett, man. He's calling to be taken out of the game. He's tired. The whole play looks like, what I look like when I'm drunkenly stumbling while playing football. Just kidding. It's like, it looks like he just kind of, Gerald Everett just gets out there, barely any effort. Guy picks it off, turns it 99 yards. And then Herbert with the injury. Looks scary. It looks like he broke some ribs or something. He could barely run. could barely throw until it became fourth down, apparently. Even on that last drive, which, gave the Chargers at least a breathing pulse at the end, he couldn't do anything until fourth down. Perfect dart down the field and then a touchdown to Palmer, 4th and 1. Herbert's 75th touchdown of his career in 34 games. Amazing. It was a great game. Herbert and Mahomes deliver again. But I do want to talk a little bit about Amazon Prime and that this game was solely streaming. It was solely on the internet. It wasn't jointly, NFL Network and Amazon or anything like that. It's been a couple other years. I mean, we're doing this. How does this work for like a dive bar in Texas? Are they hooking up the Roku or the Apple TV and signing up for Prime, or what is it, Fire Stick or whatever? Are they not watching this game, or are they on the internet? Maybe I'm thinking too little of the rural areas. I mean, I have no problem streaming things. We don't have cable. We haven't for 10 years, but just wondering, is the country ready for this? I'll be interested how many people couldn't watch this game. Are there people who could not watch this game? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just crazy. But Mukilteo football. This show is football everything. NFL history, legacy, ups and downs of the season. Follow us at MUK_football on Twitter or YouTube or TikTok. Subscribe, share, review, Apple, Spotify, Anchor, wherever you get podcasts. We got shows Thursday after Thursday Night Football, Sunday after Sunday Night Football, Monday after Monday Night Football. And let's get to the week 1 preview. I always pick out 4 games and I'll pick the lines on them. I'm going to do Miami at Baltimore, Arizona and Vegas with the Vegas Raiders. The Sunday Night Football game, Chicago Bears in Lambeau Field for Green Bay Packers, and the Minnesota Vikings at Philadelphia Eagles, which is the second of 2 Monday Night Football games. All right, bring in my demarcation sound effect. I added those. I thought it would be like a palate cleanser. I don't know. It is just one guy talking all the time. I figured something. All right, Miami at Baltimore. This is a game we're hoping to learn some things. We didn't learn much about them in week 1. The Dolphins offense, getting sexy press all offseason. But I think everyone's kind of holding off the coronation for a week, because even though Miami won, beat New England pretty soundly, the offense only scored 17 points. One of those touchdowns was a defensive touchdown. So while we're, Waddle and Hill are flashing back, on red zone and we're having fun watching that, I watched the game later and Tua, throwing a lot of ducks, making a lot of poor decisions. And that offensive line for the Dolphins, not necessarily playing any better. And now the Ravens, I was going to say, are coming to town. Now they're going to the Ravens. They're going to Baltimore, who have just that beef in the middle of defensive line. Now, that looked like a dominant performance. The Ravens quite literally ate the New York Jets offensive line. They have committed cannibalism, and that may carry a suspension. We're expecting it to happen sometime next year. No. The Ravens, it was the Jets, though. But man, God, the middle of that defensive line looked good. That's kind of worrisome if you're the Dolphins. And the Dolphins' offensive line was horrible last year, and in week 1 didn't seem to, satisfy any worries. Terran Armstead played fine, big free agent acquisition, but now he's hurt, he's going to play. He's banged up. Another guy on the line is banged up as well. So the Ravens beef versus the Dolphins, unsturdy, unproven line. I'm worried about that. Then again, on the flip side, the Dolphins' speed in the receiving core, not just Hill and Waddle, but also Cedric Wilson out there versus a banged-up Ravens secondary. Now they've lost Kyle Fuller. I don't know if Marcus Peters will be back. If he is, he's back for the first game. One of those will be the story of the game. You're welcome. Ravens favored by 3.5 in Baltimore. I'll take the Ravens. To me, I'm just still operating under the assumption that the Ravens were a Super Bowl contender last year and that injuries just depleted them to the point where they just couldn't function as an NFL contender anymore. And Tua doesn't scare me. I root for Tua, but the difference between Lamar Jackson at home versus Tua on the road is just an easy 3.5 for me to take. I'll take the Baltimore Ravens. All right, next game. Beep, boop. boop. I don't know. These are just video game sound effects from the old days. Arizona Cardinals going to the Death Star, going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And one of these 2021 wild card losers is going to start this season 0-2. And I find that interesting. The Raiders, I think they'll be confusing all season long. You know, Devontae Adams is great. I mean, he just looked so good, looked exactly like the same guy he always is in week 1. Darren Waller is good. Hunter Renfrow is good. Carr can do it if everything's perfect, but it'll be confusing because it'll seem like it should work, but it doesn't. And whenever that happens, the answer is always the same. It's the offensive line. Why isn't it working? Because the Raiders have no protection. They got terrible depth on the offensive line. They got terrible starters on the offensive line. You know, they're just going to doom the season, in my opinion. And Kyler Murray is coming into town. The Cardinals are completely beaten up in the national press right now based on the heartless effort that they put against the Rams in the wild card round and week 1, where they're blown out in their own house. Even if it was Kansas City, it looks really bad, especially now that Kansas City didn't light the world on fire in Thursday Night Football against the Chargers. By contrast, you can kind of see it. And hopefully Vance Joseph has been properly flogged for blitzing Mahomes, and they won't do that again. The line is Raiders by 5.5. I mean, you could tell by my intro, what the heck? That's a heck of a line. I will take the Cardinals on this game. I do not believe in Derek Carr any more than Kyler Murray. Remember, Kyler Murray was the MVP through 7 games last year. I just think there's more to it than this. I'll take the Cardinals to cover the 5.5 line. I'm not going to say outright win, but Josh McDaniels is not Andy Reid. Derek Carr is not Pat Mahomes. So the Cardinals will fare a little better, and they're still a team that has some talent there. And the Raiders, outside of their stars, I really don't think they do. I'm a Raider hater. That rhymes. All right, let's talk Sunday Night Football. The 0-1 Green Bay Packers host the 1-0 Chicago Bears. Not what you would think. But why is this prime time? You know, the Bears weren't expected to be good. Well, I was digging into that. You know, I know Bears, Packers, huge markets. You know, you're probably going to get this game in one of the Bears Packers matchup is going to be some sort of prime time. But week 2 Sunday Night Football, that is prime time. I mean, it was Ravens Chiefs last year. This primo spot where they can kind of capitalize on offseason hype. Well, I think I know why this game is in this coveted television slot, the second week of September football game. This game was almost the all-time NFL win, like rubber match. So talking about just franchise all-time wins, this game could have been for it because the Bears have had the most wins in NFL history since 1920, since the very first season. They had a huge lead, but over the last 30 years, where the Packers have had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, the Packers have chipped away and chipped away and chipped away. And at the beginning of this season, the Bears were at 783 all-time wins. The Packers were at 782 all-time wins. So you can easily see an alternate scenario where maybe the 49ers beat the Bears and the Packers beat the Vikings. Then this Sunday Night Football game would have been both of them at 783 all-time wins, tied. Unfortunately, the opposite happened, and we've got the Bears at 784 all-time wins, Packers at 782 all-time wins. Still, the Packers can gain a game in the all-time standings. Everyone's saying, oh, don't worry about the Packers, don't worry about the Packers. I just have to say it out loud. I have a podcast, so I do that kind of stuff. It's kind of weird that we're just assuming that because the Packers bounced back from last week 1, that they will bounce back from this week 1. We're saying, oh, well, you thought that they were done last year too, right? And look what happened. Yeah, it wasn't inevitable. It wasn't like predestined or predetermined. I'm just saying, it's possible that some blowouts that happen in week 1 do say something about the team. And this might be one of them. It's just because last year's beatdown where the Saints beat the Packers and then Aaron Rodgers won MVP doesn't mean that this one, where the Vikings beat down the Packers in week 1, is irrelevant. The Packers might be in trouble. Just going to say it. Packers favorite by 10. One of 5 double-digit spreads this year, or this week. Buffalo over Tennessee by 10, Denver over Houston by 10, San Francisco over Seattle by 10, Rams over Atlanta by 10.5. And I will make the declaration, one of these 5 games, the double-digit underdog will win. Which one? I don't know, but that will happen. I don't think this one, though. I'll take the Packers. I'll take the Packers even to cover the 10. We can't pretend that Chicago poses any threat. I will just say this. The Packers might actually be in trouble this year, but they'll still beat the Bears. All right, Monday Night Football. The Minnesota Vikings at the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a doubleheader, but not really a doubleheader because the kickoffs are within an hour of each other. So Bills-Titans will be happening at the same time as this game. I don't get it. Try before you deny, I guess, but I'm not going to like this. But the Vikings and Eagles, that's the main matchup. That's the one that's going to be on the primetime network. A very intriguing matchup, especially considering what happened in week 1. The NFC is truly wide open. And these two teams, the Vikings and the Eagles, are the 2 highest performers, in week 1. In Minnesota, they got all their power-ups, Zadarius Smith, Donnell Hunter, Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook. They're all healthy, and they're formidable when they have all those guys. They're beat down Green Bay formidable. I don't know what kind of depth they have, but the Eagles, man, I really like the Eagles. I really like their offensive line, their defensive line. I'm warming up to Jalen Hurts after being the president of the hate club. I'm just warming up. I think having A.J. Brown helps. Maybe Devonta Smith can get involved. It's Eagles by 2, favored by 2, and I'll take that. I said I'm warming up to Jalen Hurts. I don't think he can win a shootout, but I also don't think the Vikings offense necessarily deserves shootout status yet. We think of it like Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson put on a Randall Cunningham to Randy Moss show, but they didn't. They scored 23 points. 23 points last week. It wasn't like they put up 42. I don't know. I think the Eagles will cover the 2. And if the Vikings win, I'm going to be super excited about the Vikings going forward because the Eagles are one of the type of teams that they shouldn't beat with those formidable lines. So we shall see. All right, Mukilteo Football Show will be back Sunday night and Monday night. Check us out.